Hello and welcome to the Happy PharmD podcast. I'm the founder of the Happy PharmD, Dr. Alex Barker. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Today we're going to be talking with Dr. Julie Kidd, who is one of our most experienced pharmacy career coaches at the Happy PharmD. She'll be sharing her surprising lessons that she's learned from helping dozens and dozens of clients get jobs that they love. Things like how your childhood can actually influence your future career decisions, the surprising ways people get experience in fields where they don't have any experience, and perhaps most importantly, how pharmacists break free from the funk that they can be caught up in and getting excited about a new career path. Let's jump into the interview. Hey, Julie, thanks for hanging out with us.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm living the dream. I'm talking to Julie, number 3 in the coach team. I'm just now realizing. Do you remember that first conversation we had?
I do. Actually, I do remember that conversation.
It was so bizarre because I was not supposed to be working. I was on sabbatical, traveling around the country with my family, and Jackie was like, "You need to talk to this pharmacist," and I was like, "Okay."
I do remember, because I remember being like, this guy's never going to call me. But then you were like, sorry for the delay. I've been traveling. I'm not even supposed to be working. And but yeah, I remember I was on my lunch break in my car. We chatted, and yeah, gosh, that was what, 4 years ago, I guess. It's been a while.
2018, and it's 2023.
Wow.
You've started this journey 5 years ago.
That's
in fact,
insane.
It's probably almost to the date as of this conversation we're having on this day, because I'm getting on my iPhone like memory updates.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Remember when you did this? And it's all my trip.
Oh, yeah.
Where I ran around the country, and my kids were like half the size that they are now.
Right.
And I remember we were in like the parking lot, living in a van, by the way. So you were in a car.
I remember you told me you're in a van.
Yeah, living in a van, not by a river, but at the time I think we were like in a library parking lot by some mountains. And I remember thinking, like, just reflecting, it's so surreal. And since then, though, you've been coaching, you have helped dozens and dozens of people. And I think it would be great to share the lessons you've learned and the transformations you've seen in pharmacists from, I think on the hard end of the spectrum, there's people who were burned out, who maybe even thought, I want to quit pharmacy altogether. And you've also helped people who are on the opposite end of that spectrum, and people who love what they do but want to get more out of their work, their profession. And I think that you've got some surprising lessons, I think, to share with us. At least I'm putting my hope in that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't believe it's been since 2018. I think I usually tell clients I've been here like 3 years, but I guess time flies when you're having fun, Yeah, it's such a joy for me to work with my fellow colleagues as pharmacists, to, meet them where they're at from the beginning of our time together. And I tell them, this is your time to really kind of push pause on searching for a job and sending in applications, but let's figure out what it is that really makes you tick and what makes you happy and why you got into pharmacy in the first place. So let's do some deep dives. And so that it's a joy for me to kind of journey with them, for them to not figure that out, because they figured that out, when they went to pharmacy school, when they got into this profession, but for them to remember why it is that they love this profession. So, and I love it when things come up, even from like, their adolescent years. I tell them, like, what did you do in the summertime, when you were a little girl or a little boy? Because that's what we still probably long to do, right? When we had all the time in the world. So yeah, I think I have learned a lot about our profession and about our clients. I've seen so many successes, and some clients who, it hasn't been easy for them to transition over or to figure out what it is they want to do. And I've had clients who, like you said, you know what, like pharmacy has been great, but I'm ready to transition to something different. And that's also a win, to realize that, and to move on to what it is that they want to do the rest of their life. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about a few stories and situations and reminisce a little bit.
Reminisce. Yeah, I was thinking at first that has a negative connotation, but no, it's a good one.
I think it's mainly positive.
Well, let's play in the areas of childhood. I think a lot of pharmacists don't even consider that it can be a source of inspiration for a future career path. When I think about my own childhood, it definitely reflects today, because as a child, I did everything I could to get everyone's attention. And I'm on a podcast, so yeah, no surprises there. And I was constantly trying to get other people to laugh, especially at the teacher's expense. And there was consequences. I got a lot of detentions. Have you found with some pharmacists inspiration from their childhood and how that's influenced maybe future career decisions?
Yeah, so many times. And I think that is, often a question that when I ask them that, to go back to those adolescent years, the formative years, that, they often think it's kind of an odd question for me to ask. But, when we catch back up about that question, so many things usually come out. And I remember one client specifically, this was probably 2 years ago, but she said in her little neighborhood that she would basically design a curriculum for all the neighborhood kids in the summer for a summer school.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She would get all of the kids together in the cul-de-sac and teach them all the things, and obviously the parents just loved this girl.
I'm
and
sure
guess
they
what
did.
we transitioned her to? She went into academia,
No surprise.
Yeah. She was like, I never, had put those things together, that I love science. And so that's why I went to pharmacy school, but I didn't realize that I could use these tools to be in academia. So that was a really, just the light bulb went off for her when we put that together, and then seeing her progress through that, she's loving what she's doing, she's back in the cul-de-sac designing curriculum, for all these kids. So
yeah, that is crazy. I hope she used that in her interview.
She did in her cover letter, in her interview. I mean,
she went through our program. Of course she did. I don't know why I said
she
that.
Did. Right.
That's incredible. Was she in academia previously?
No experience, none whatsoever.
Wow.
She had retail experience and maybe inpatient hospital experience as well, but no formal academia to speak of. No certificate, no even rotations. And she had, if I recall, it had been several years since she had graduated, but no rotations in academia. And so that's another thing, clients think that if you don't have experience in that particular area, then it's just, you're never going to achieve that, And so it took her a while to realize she does have what it takes and the skill set, but also her heart and her passion was for teaching. And so she used her skills to demonstrate, what she was really good, what she was born to do, basically in this field of pharmacy. So it was really cool to see her transition through that and to build confidence. Because again, at the beginning, she thought, when the light bulb went off, she said, "Oh, this is what I would love to do, but I don't have what it takes to be a professor." And then for her to just slowly, one foot in front of the other, gain confidence along the way, for her to show up at that interview and to rock that interview and to get that position was really incredible.
It's not surprising to me. I think people tend to, because we're so intelligent, because we went through a doctoral program, how can we look at our childhood and think that that can help to guide us? But we truthfully haven't changed over time. There are always things that we're drawn to and things that we enjoy doing. They typically don't change all that much over time. But I think a lot of people wonder, well, I'm interested in systems. I'm interested in research. I'm interested in teaching, but I don't know how to gain experience going that way, right? I think some people wonder, for even the story that you told, and feel free to use others as well. How do I gain experience in an area where I've never had a job?
Right. Yeah, and that is, it's a hard one, right? It's a hard one to say, yes, I want to be an MSL. Yes, I want to be an informatics pharmacist, but I have never done this before. So we often talk a lot about that, and what does that look like? And is there a place that you can go volunteer? Can you go shadow a pharmacist who are doing those things? Number one, to make sure that is what you want to do, even though it sounds delightful. I want to make sure that that is your dream job. In fact, not just in paper, but the day-to-day lifestyle that pharmacist who's doing that thing, that's what you want to do. So can you get some shadowing experience? Are there organizations, maybe in pharma that you can peripherally follow or join? I don't love people just to sign up for organizations just to sign up, but if it's something they can just get on an email list for, to kind of see who are the key players in that field, and then they can start connecting to them. That's another way. Is there a certificate program? You can get your teaching certificate for academia, for example. So there's several ways that you can be pretty savvy to kind of spin your current situation and your skill set to, get that new job, and to say, yes, I haven't had whatever experience that this job is, but let me tell you what I do have, and let me tell you the skill sets that I do. Another thing is, another pharmacist, she wanted to go into academia. I feel like a lot of these examples are academia. She was working at a community-based pharmacy, but she had created from scratch all of these patient handouts. She was teaching on them. She was actually collecting some data. Like, she was doing so much teaching with these written, handouts that she had created. And even though it wasn't teaching, students or what have you, she was still teaching. And so we used that experience for her as she was transitioning over to an academic role, of how she was using, or how she would be the person, the perfect person for that position because of all the things in the past that she had done.
So you brought up someone who went to community. It seems like you're just shoving people into academia, which I know is not, that's not even your technically at this moment.
That's right. That's right.
Not your background. But I was curious about something. I hinted at this earlier, that some people, when they work with a coach, there's various levels of, I'll call it, engagement and fulfillment in pharmacy. Some people, they enjoy what they do, but they realize they probably need a different work environment. While others are on the opposite end of the spectrum and say, I come home from work and I feel way worse, and I wake up the next day dreading going in. Have you found through your coaching experience certain ways pharmacists kind of can break free from feelings of burnout and actually get motivated to pursue work that really matters? Or perhaps even, I guess, asked a little differently, what are some techniques you've seen people use successfully to kind of break free from I'll say the arduous journey of reinventing your career?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I've had clients who literally are throwing up in the parking lot before they go to their shift. And we have some real conversations of like, hey, I get you have to pay the bills. I get that, you have to put food on the table, but is that worth it? You only get one life, and you need to take care of yourself. And so I try to, in the midst of even just them figuring out what they want to do and transitioning to that job, because it's not usually overnight. It's a process, and that's a lot of hard work. Try to find little things they can do every day. Actually, one of our fellow coaches suggested this, and I thought this was genius. I think she had been in a position she was really burnt out, but she would come home at the end of her shift, and she would just write down 2 to 3 things that she was thankful for during the day. And so it just helped her shift her focus from, I am really miserable in this job. However, maybe I had a really good conversation with a patient, or maybe me and a technician had a good conversation, or I got to leave at a decent time. Whatever it is, you can focus on those 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for. And that for me, and hopefully for clients, it helps. It's a mind shift, of I am on this journey, and it's really hard right now. I'm really burnt out, but I'm not staying here forever. And these are the things that I am really grateful for. We also make a lot of short-term and long-term goals, because again, this is not typically going to happen in a month's time, in two months' time. It's usually going to involve, some time to transition. But what can you do in a week from now, in 2 weeks from now, to get you a little bit closer to that long-term dream job that you say you want? So we'll talk about that. And a lot of times, Alex, that's even non-pharmacy, non-career based things. That's, hey, I'm going to call this friend and we're going to go on a walk together because I just need more community around me. Or I have this novel sitting on my bedside table that it's been sitting here for 9 months. I'm going to read, 1 chapter by the time that we meet again. So things outside of work and outside of pharmacy, sometimes we need those things to remind us that we're humans, and there's other things in the world happening besides just pharmacy, and that makes us feel a little bit better. So again, kind of focusing on that end game, but taking those baby steps each week to get there, and then focusing on the things that are non-work related that still can make us happy. I always tell clients, like, we're called the happy PharmD for a reason, but I think to be a happy PharmD, you have to be happy outside of the job too. So, personally, socially, emotionally, spiritually, all those things. Who are you, and what are the things that you can do, even though your job might be terrible, to make you feel like a whole person and feel satisfied? So we try to really focus on those things as well.
So what you're saying is that you're breaking our contracts with people by providing them more than just career coaching. Julie, how dare you care about our
they're whole people. And
yeah, I'm being facetious for anyone listening. Yeah, I think that we have at times received constructive criticism from people to say, this isn't what I expected. And people say that sometimes from both a positive and a negative viewpoint. Sometimes they're positive to say, I didn't imagine coaching would involve more than just me trying to get a new job. Like, it has shifted the way I think about my relationships, my spirituality, my hobbies, just how I see my life.
Yeah.
And I think some people as well think like, I thought you were just going to help me with my career, and you've opened up these other areas of my life that also need improving. People, I got a message one time, Julie. I would love to hear you, maybe surprising things you've seen clients do. But I remember one person saying, like, I've been struggling with my weight for like
Mm.
20 years and I've lost 25 pounds since doing this. And I go, well, that's great. It's not why we're meeting, but it
Sure.
sounds like it's something that was blocking you from really having the life you wanted.
Sure. I
Have
just
you,
think, I mean, I've
go
I've
ahead.
been there personally when something in your life is just so miserable and sucks the life out of you. Sometimes that's all you can see, right? Like you just spiral. You just spiral and you can't see out of your own head. Um, so I love it. I had a client a couple weeks ago text me. Um, she was going through a divorce. She hated her job, like all these things, and she was spiraling. And we said, "What's one thing you can do this week that's going to help you, just emotionally?" And she was like, "I want to go kayaking." And so she texted me a picture. She was doing it. She went kayaking, and that's what she texted me a picture of. And it just made me so happy. And she's doing things for herself. Um, to stop that spiraling, to get out of her own head and to show up and to just say, this is my life. I'm going to take charge of it. I don't have to be miserable. So I was really proud of her for doing that.
Mm. Have there been surprising benefits that you've seen people transform through by focusing on other things besides just the career aspect?
Oh yeah. Let me think. Um, well, I think there's a lot of times where clients, so this is another kind of random story, but one client just was having a hard time figuring out what it is she wanted to do. She knew she wanted to stay in pharmacy. She was working at an inpatient hospital type setting. Um, she loved animals. And so she started volunteering at the local zoo. Um, we
Mm.
thought maybe veterinarian medicine could be an option for her. And
Yeah.
she's just said, I'm just going to go and do, I have, she was single, she had some time. So she, went and started just volunteering at the zoo. And that brought her a lot of joy, just spending time outside of hospital walls, outside of talking to other pharmacists, and just doing some things that she really enjoys doing. I just connected with her again this week, actually. And she said, she was doing a lot of like teaching children about the animals. And she said, I have now realized that I do not want to work with children. She was like, I love animals, but I don't want to work with children or their parents. And I said, this is great to realize like pediatrics is not for you. So I think even as we're pursuing some of the things that we really enjoy doing, it can help us to eliminate the things that we don't want to do as well.
Yeah. Well, in reflecting on all the different people that you've helped, what would you say is a lesson that you've personally learned about career development?
Yeah, that's a hard one to narrow it down to one thing. I think pharmacists are just so we are not good about selling ourselves, about saying that this is our value. Um, we think we have to fit inside certain boxes, instead of creating our own box to be in, or circle or whatever shape we want to be in. And so for me, I mean, and this has worked personally for my career and for my clients, when we as pharmacists put ourselves in situations that feel like we aren't qualified, that feel awkward, but we are confident, even if we fake it that we're confident, a lot of things typically happen when we do that. If we just stay in the same, we're going to do this today, we're going to go to the same place and don't put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, typically my clients haven't succeeded the same way as those clients who have stepped out of those comfort zones, and have showed up and made connections or gone to some type of networking event, that they felt like they had no business attending. Those are the clients who have success stories. And when I connect with them later, who are still loving what they do. I had a client a couple weeks ago. I was just catching up with her, and she's now working with the government, a pretty big government job. And she was in a hospital position before. And she said, Julie, I have to pinch myself every day that this is my life, that I get to do this, that I get to do the projects that I get to do. But if she hadn't have put herself in some very uncomfortable situations, she would have never been there. She would have not been able to transition there. So I know for me personally, and it's great for me to tell clients that I've been there before. Before my current job, I was in academia at a medical school, and I probably had no right to being a professor at a medical school. But I just showed up. There were some connections that were made, and they asked me to come for an interview, and I just showed up, and they offered me the job on the spot, and it turned out to be a wonderful career, a wonderful place for me to do that. My current job, I work for a private practice physician in a multiple sclerosis clinic, and I had been doing MS with the pharmacy department for a few years at this point, but my family and I were moving, and I just sent an email. It was really awkward to send this physician an email, but I said, what do I have to lose? I probably will never hear from her again, but I just said, hey, I'm interested in MS, and I'm moving to your area. Would you be interested in collaborating? Within 2 hours, I heard back, and she hired me, and so I haven't had to fill out a job application in a decade, because I'm putting myself in very awkward situations and thinking outside the box. So I really try to encourage my clients to do the same thing, and to, say it doesn't have to look like anything else other pharmacists are doing. Create your own journey. What does that path look like for you, and go after it. The worst thing that they can say is, no, we can't do that. We can't create that position or what have you. But you have those skills and that knowledge to do those things. So go after it until you have someone telling you, no, it's not going to happen.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of our podcast. If you're interested in learning more about what a career coach can do for you and how they can help you get into a job you love quickly, you can go to our website, thehappypharmd.com. Look at Career RX, or one of our career advisors on the website. It'll be there. And I believe it's at the top. And you can book a call. It's free to do so, to learn more really about what coaching can do for you, but as well as they're going to ask you a lot of insightful questions. It's not going to be a call that's just about getting into our program, but you're going to be learning a lot about your career and about taking some very important steps. I think it's really easy to think that you just need to get a better resume, better application. We were actually talking about this before the podcast, that a lot of people just focus on that, but it's so much more. You can get lucky in a career. You can fall into something great. That is totally possible. But the chances are stacked against you when everyone else is applying to similar jobs. So I would encourage you to talk with one of our career advisors and learn some very helpful insights into the job market and how you can learn to stand out, as well as, of course, our coaching program. If you're on YouTube or listening to our podcast, please consider subscribing, writing a little comment or rating, review. We love those, and thank you for those. In fact, some of them are on my appreciation wall in my office, and it makes me feel good. I won't deny it. It makes me feel good. And thank you for those of you that have been with us since the very beginning. Really means a lot. It helps us feel like our vision of changing our profession is truly worth pursuing. It's so powerful to know that we are a part of your journey of making pharmacy better, not just for you, but for everyone in our profession. So I'll end on saying thank you so much for listening. And until next time, we'll see you then. Goodbye.